Focus, buddy. All right, click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute to really join the other YouTube channel, not this channel. I don't know how long. You make one video and you say the wrong thing, you're just a little bit too based. You get a little too red pilled, and you're like, oh, your channel's gone. I've had channels before where I've done some videos that were no warnings. No, YouTube has a strike system. They give you so many strikes and time off and all that kind of stuff to punish you for getting too far down the rabbit hole. I had one channel where I published a video that joked about events that happened, I don't know, 70, 80 odd years ago. Or didn't, whatever. No strikes, no warnings, and just instantly your channel's gone. And your email account is gone, and all Google services attached to that account. I was like, wow, who's pulling the strings on Google? I'm curious. I'm so curious. I want to notice who's at the bottom of that rabbit hole. Geez, but yeah, could you? I could speak in nothing but dog whistles. I should write a video that's just all dog whistles. It'd be freaking hysterical. Excuse me. So first of all, let me say there is no such thing as HUWHITE, as Jared Taylor would say. Supremacy. White people are awesome. Don't get me wrong. Are they the best at everything? No, unfortunately. They're amazing, but everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. So no, that's a Bolshevik, Saul Alinsky, Frankfurt School. If you want to look up the history of the Bolsheviks, that's kind of a fascinating topic. Also, as it relates to social media and the history of Bolshevism in general, and Russia and 105 odd years ago, because it has a lot to do with what's going on now with Karl Marx and Moses Mordecai Levy and Engels and Lenin and Stalin, all those fun guys. So there's no such thing as HUWHITE supreme things. That's Bolshevik propaganda, because the people who are pulling the strings on the narrative, the media, if you control the narrative, you control the media, you control the narrative, you control the message, you control the world. You think, people control financial institutions is pretty important too. It is. It's not. Doesn't come close to controlling the narrative. If you can brainwash people for 80 years through radio waves and I don't mean like tinfoil hat type. I mean like through TV, just constant TV messaging. It's like generational propaganda, generational brainwashing of you slowly. It's the mid-60s. That's when they started to take off the mask and slip in this anti-white propaganda, and it just happens so slowly you almost don't notice it. It's just little subversive anti-white stuff here and there, and you look back on it now from the 60s when they kind of started in the mid-60s or early 60s, you go, oh, I can see it, and I can point it out, It's here, it's everywhere. You start to see it. It's not confirmation bias because it's objective. Once you figure out like an algorithm and a matrix to analyze it, it's like, oh, who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist, who's made to look foolish or not, and you start lining it up, and you're like, oh, they really seem to not like people of European origin. Weird. And now, obviously, in 2022, you can see it in commercials every time I turn on the Kindle. These old Kindles have an advertisement screen, and almost all the advertisements are POC families of the darker shade, the dusky variety, on the cover of these advertisements. Or you can see it anytime you turn on the TV. Watch like an hour of commercials and just take notes for it and see what you see is insane. It's insane. You go, wow, they're really pushing a narrative here. Like, yeah. So all this is Bolshevik propaganda, and eventually it's going to have to come out in the open. You're going to have conversations with people about this anti-white racism and hatred by these Bolsheviks who've been doing this for a very long time. They're not going to stop on their own. I'm being as careful as I can on YouTube. They won't stop on their own. The next part of that sentence is you're going to have to call them out, name them, identify them, and counter their narrative with your own narrative of who they are and what message of hatred they're spreading. Anyway, so white pizza supreme replacement theorist for shooting carried on by black suspect. Oh, she's some idiot who's legitimately low IQ. And if you have a city council, mayors, government officials, to quote Civil War, and there to the left of the bell curve, you're going to have a city council. You're going to have a city run by these incompetent people, and it's going to be an incompetently run city. You don't have to be a genius to be a mayor, city council, even a district attorney or a judge. You really don't have to be a genius, but you got to be slightly to the right of the bell curve if you're running a system where people matter. You have to have people show up. And as the higher you go, you got to be further to the bell curve. You can't have people to the left of the bell curve who are making decisions based on feelings and emotion and not cool, rational, analytical thinking. Here's the thing. I'm going to take some risk on a small YouTube channel because it's only 300 subs. It's not the end of the world. Like it'll never make it to 1,000 before it gets kicked. If you want a well-run city or civilization in general, you kind of want to look for the fairest skinned conservative men to run it. If you have a city run by Englishmen, conservative Christian Englishman types, it's going to be competently run. And that's not a statement I think you can rebut. I think that's going to be more true than not. And you can compare that to other groups of people and, put a group of English or German men or French men or Swedish whatever men up against any other group of different groups on Earth. And like, who's going to run? Who do you want to run San Francisco? Oh, we're going to take 200 Englishmen. They're going to be the mayors and the city council. They're going to run DAs and judges. They're going to run the city. It's like, will they do a competent job? Yeah, they will. Now, what about other people running San Francisco? It's like, I've followed San Francisco politics for a while. It's not run very well. I mean, San Francisco's not doing well. You got massive crime. That's a very careful way to couch things for the YouTube algorithm, but eventually people are going to have to start realizing you can't have cities, relatively small cities like San Francisco or any other cities run by people who are either to the left of the bell curve or incompetent in some way or just so corrupt and crooked that they can't be trusted to run anything. Because you go to a city where, you can't park your car anywhere because it gets broken into. Your garage gets broken into. Your stores get broken into. You get robbed and mugged and struggle snuggled and deleted from this mortal coil. It's like, the city is functioning under this tremendous burden of incompetent rulership, which means, we're going to catch and release because the district attorneys are Soros funded. Did I get off track? I don't really think so. Because the point is, you have incompetent people pulling the strings on your city. Your city's in deep trouble. And unfortunately, let me be careful here. In a nation where everyone has we the people privileges and immunities, everyone has got their same rights and privileges of anyone who's a citizen. Once you meet the requirements, you can run for office. Well, that's a society that's doomed to fail. Are you saying democracy? It's a threat to our democracy. You mean the constitutional republic? Well, let me put it this way. If democracy, the constitutional republic, capitalism, all that stuff got you here, no, I'm not a far-left communist, friends. If all that stuff got you here, then it's like your best thinking got you here. That's what they say when you end up in rehab. Your best thinking got you here. It's not. I've never went to rehab, but this was what I heard. It's time to try something different. So if your best thinking got America or these individual blue cities to where it is, or America as a whole, to be fair, it's turning into the second world. Then whatever you're doing kind of needed to be changed. And you can point to a few things where America kind of went off track because it was on a real good start right from the beginning. The Constitution's writing, the Founding Fathers, it was really solid. Those guys knew what they were talking about. Were they perfect? No, nobody is. There's slavery today in the Middle East and Africa. Nobody gives two feathers about it. You care what happened 100 plus years ago? Yeah, because you can get something out of it. Oh, what about slavery in Africa right now? You want to do something about that? No, not really, because I can't get anything out of it. That's the mentality of these people. Anyway, where's it going with this? These people are idiots. Nancy Pelosi herself, you've heard her speak, and you can hear her speak for the past 30 years, whatever, you realize, she's never been sharp. She's not just getting old and alcoholic. She was, always kind of a useful idiot, who's, oddly enough, is now worth over $100 million. Because she's an insider, she traded on inside information, which is a breach of her fiduciary duty to we the people. And, nobody, and none of the other politicians are looking to do an inquiry into her, because they're also the same hogs at the same trough. Anyway, obviously where's the face of the guy? Obviously the chute is black. Here's the thing with this kind of issue. Let me go to CW Chicago. This is a great website. They go to listen, anything to do with Asian victims. 99% of the time, it's going to be a black male assailant, or maybe black. I'll just say black in general. That's just the harsh reality. Every once in a while, it'll be somebody else. It might be. There was one case of a crazy white guy who. But he didn't specifically target Asians. He was targeting women at a massage parlor, so it wasn't strictly Asians. But if it's attacks on Asians, I can safely say it's over 95% is going to be black on Asian attacks. There's no way to get around that. Like the data is so objectively overwhelming. It's just I don't know how many. There's probably an attack a day if you want to look at like places like any Chinatown, Oakland, any place like that, San Francisco. I mean, L.A. and the East Coast. Like every city's got their little Asian district, and there's going to be an attack on Asian. It's not going to be Mexican. It's always going to be a person of African descent. That's just the. It's like 95% of the time. So when they say something so ridiculous like this, I mean, this is just insane to say it's a white person who's attacked a Korean hairdressing salon. It's like, that's not true right from the start, or you didn't give it any thought, and you're just an idiot. And she is legitimately to the left of the bell curve. They know it's... In the past few years, there was like one white guy who attacked a massage parlor. Every other piece of the news, and people on Twitter are going like, "Oh, how come the media doesn't cover black on Asian crime?" Because it's endless. It's not. It's like that kind. This might have been too far for YouTube. It's like Joanne Reid at MSNBC with the Gabby Petito and her boyfriend. They go, "Oh, missing white girl syndrome." They should go, POC girls don't get the WOC girls don't get the same level of attention. People think like, hey, you got an MSNBC platform. Why don't you take 30 seconds at the end of each show and show missing POC girls, or just show missing girls randomly? Like most of them are going to be POCs. The reason they don't do that is because most of the assailants, most of the attackers are also POCs. In fact, almost all of them. It's overwhelming. So you'd be bringing this into the news, and the news doesn't like to cover POC Malum and Say acts. Because there's a lot of them. That might have been too much for YouTube. Shit, I don't know. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on Odyssey and Bit Chute after I get kicked off of my various YouTube platforms.